The companies which serve as intermediaries between buyers and sellers face a fundamental problem. Should they be like supermarkets, acquiring and reselling products and services, or should they operate like a multi-sided platform, for instance eBay, Rakuten, or Taobao? There are three reasons why the multi-sided platform is so popular. 1. The success of eBay and the other platforms. 2. Multi-sided platforms look financially more interesting than resellers. And the third reason is the lower operating costs and their higher percentage margins. All kinds of companies, large or small, try to apply the model, but all the attempts since the early 2000s to create an eBay-style marketplace failed. An example of this is Zappos. Initially, it started as an eBay, but turned itself into a pure reseller. The impact of the control the company is taking over transactions determines the continuum between pure reseller and pure multi-sided platform. If you want to examine what the influence is on the value of the company, we have to take into account four factors. The first are the scale effects. High demand products are sold more efficiently by one large reseller than by many small sellers. The reason is that a large reseller has the possibility to do large investments like infrastructure, delivery, etc., and acquires a big advantage on the competition. The second factor is the aggregation effects. Some products and services have much higher value to buyers when bought together than when purchased separately from independent sellers. A patent, for instance, a smartphone, have little value on its own because individual patents can be invented around, countered with related patents. When you bundle patents and sell them or license the bundles, they will survive easier than individual. Resellers are also in much better position to exploit complementarities. You create a sort of relationship between products. For instance, with iTunes, you can sell music files at low prices because Apple gains a lot of money with selling his new iPods. This is not possible for the multi-sided platforms. On the other hand, for the App Store, servicing like a multi-sided platform makes a lot of more sense because there are thousands of app designers. It would cost a lot to try to deal with all of them. Even when complementarities are limited, a reseller that offers products may have more value from buyers through strategies such as bundling and loss leader pricing than like an individual supplier. The third factor is the buyer and the seller experience. Multi-sided platforms generally create value by matching buyers with the right sellers, but sometimes one party doesn't want to deal with the other party. This makes the reseller model preferable. An example of this is the Zappos shift from multi-sided platform to reseller. The company discovered that buyers were more likely to complete transactions and come back for more if they were offered a great retail experience like fast delivery, standardized information, availability, etc. The realization makes that Zappos built its own warehouse and take the complete control over interactions with end users. Some multi-sided platforms manage to achieve the optimum great experiences for both buyers and sellers. For instance, Odesk is able to satisfy the needs of both sides without taking direct responsibility for either party of their agreements. The fourth factor are the market failures. Due to uncertainty about product quality or about the reliability of sellers and suppliers, marketplaces sometimes collapse. Market failures can also be solved by multi-sided platforms. Airbnb, for instance, has developed a few features to keep both buyers and sellers honest. The renter's payment is released 24 hours after the renter has checked in and confirmed the state of the location. The return of the renter's deposit happens after the owner has declared that there was no serious damage occurred. These kind of features aren't always enough to ensure quality and reliability. Sometimes transactions need to be more controlled, and an approach of a reseller is necessary. Another potential market failure is a situation when one side has an information or bargaining advantage over the other. The weaker party is then unlikely to participate. In this case, the reseller model can help. For example, 5, the world's largest patent aggregator, negotiates with large operating companies on behalf of many small patent owners. In this way, 5 corrects the huge power imbalance between the two parties. How companies use different sale models. Companies can take various positions on the continuum between a pure reseller model and a pure multi-sided platform model. Let's take a look at three specific industries. 1. Retail and e-commerce. At the side of pure multi-sided platforms, we find online marketplaces such as eBay. The pure resellers in this sector are retailers like Walmart and Zappos. Amazon started in 1949 as a pure reseller but started allowing third-party merchants to sell products directly to Amazon users. Now their position on the continuum depends on the product category. 2. Digital content. Cable and satellite services, Netflix and iTunes are pure resellers. Those companies control the prices and delivery. The App Store and Google Play are multi-sided platforms, but not in a pure way because they keep some control over quality, for example. Services as Sony's PlayStation Store we find somewhere in between. Contracts of users are with Sony, but game publishers maintain control over pricing. 3. Car sharing. The pure resellers in this sector are the traditional car rental companies, such as Avis. They just rent out cars which they don't own to consumers. The newer services such as Getaround and Uber don't own a fleet of cars to rent out. Getaround lets cars owners set their own rates while Uber imposes some standard rates. This is why Uber isn't a pure multi-sided platform. Startup and growth. It is difficult for some companies to position themselves immediately on the reseller MSP continuum. If a company should be characterized by multi-sided platforms, they sometimes need to start out as resellers and vice versa. To illustrate this problem, we can use the Catch-22 problem. To explain this problem, we will state that we are a startup or a large company entering a new market using the multi-sided platforms model. The model you will be faced with is that if you don't have enough sellers, you won't have many buyers. The same problem will happen with the buyers. Luckily, there are solutions for this problem like focusing on a small niche. eBay did the same with collectors of PEZ candy dispensers. In the case that you don't find a niche, it is wise to resort to the reseller for an interim period. This strategy is used by Amazon. Karma, a startup that is taking a similar approach, allows users to select, buy, and send presents from a variety of sources. Their strength is the ability to provide gift recommendations based on data gleaned from users' social networks. Currently, they are using the pure reseller model. They buy and sell with a small profit. Probably, this won't be optimal in the long run. Most of the retailers and manufacturers that Karma works with are superior in scale. This isn't a problem because Karma doesn't have to take positions of the items to guarantee their buyers a good experience. Neither will the consumers be concerned about quality or reliability. This control offered by the reseller gives Karma more space and time to research the way to serve buyers. Once they know the best way to serve, they will be able to transform their structure towards a multi-sided platform model. An important thing to mention is that if a business should be a reseller and if it has to grow on short term, but you don't have the resources for this, a good interim solution is to operate like a multi-sided platform which has lower costs and capital. An example of a company which used this strategy is GOM, the largest electronics retailer in China. Creating a marketplace is harder than it looks. It is very attractive to connect buyers and sellers without owning the product. This is because of the low costs and high margins. Sometimes it still seems better to be a reseller. If you can answer yes to any of the following questions, reselling or a hybrid approach is probably a better bet for your company. 1. Are there significant economies of scale to be exploited? 2. Can your company create and extract much more value by bundling or by selling complementary products? 3. Do buyers derive significant benefits from aggregation? 4. Is your company able to create a better buyer or seller experience by taking control of transactions? 5. Do buyers need to be protected from sellers or vice versa? And 6. Does one side have a disproportionate information or bargaining advantages? Disruption and disintermediation. This framework is also useful for identifying disruption or opportunities or threats. If we look at a typical disruption scenario, emerging marketplaces displace incumbent resellers. The multi-sided platform model has become very powerful and widespread thanks to the internet and mobile communication technologies. Because of this, new marketplaces are created every day to connect sellers and buyers, and the traditional middlemen are bypassed. Examples are eBay, Odesk, Kindle, Rights, etc. It is wrong if we say that every reseller is a subject to disruption by online or mobile-based multi-sided platforms. Examples of this are Li and Fung, who is the world's leading middleman for apparel fabric. An online shop could provide a one-stop shop. This online shop has a disadvantage that they stop aggregating demand from many clients so they can lower the prices from suppliers, make faster deliveries, and help suppliers better utilize their capacity. Another examples are Hulu, YouTube, and Xbox Live Marketplace. These services make sure that users can buy content directly from the provider. The proliferation of these internet-based marketplaces has not rendered satellite and cable aggregators obsolete. Aggregators like to use bundling, so they get much higher revenues from viewers and advertisers. They do this by selling their products independently on online marketplaces and then share those higher revenues with the content providers. It is important to conclude that we are beginning to see a reverse disruption scenario, which means that upstart resellers are challenging established multi-sided platforms. An example of this is Gazelle. Successful multi-sided platforms inevitably create opportunities for resellers to aggregate demand or supply in markets or to offer a better experience for a segment on either side of the market. During the past decade, multi-sided platforms have emerged as some of the most powerful and valuable business models. It is dangerous to overestimate their attractiveness relative to the traditional reseller model. Before changing the model to the multi-sided platform, managers should consider where on the reseller MSP continuum an intermediary belongs. They have to be realistic and realize that it may take one or two moves to change the model. Afterwards, they have to be diligent about re-evaluating that positioning as the competitive landscape changes. Otherwise, it could happen that their business is disrupted.